now. Tom, the Chargers made an interesting decision overnight. What's the latest?
Jamie, for the first time since the Chargers moved to Los Angeles 7 years ago, the brightest Hollywood lights are about to shine on that team. The Chargers agreed to terms on Wednesday with Jim Harbaugh on a 5-year contract to make him their new head coach. There have been years of flirtation, of course, with Harbaugh about a potential NFL return. He interviewed with the Vikings and the Broncos the past 2 off seasons, but the timing and this team always made sense if Harbaugh was finally going to make the leap. He gets to go back to California along with his wife. They met out there years ago when he was the coach at the University of San Diego. He gets a quarterback in Justin Herbert that he can work with, a franchise that does have a lot of talent. They're moving into a new multi-million-dollar practice facility. And Harbaugh also has just won a national title at the University of Michigan at a time where there is potential adversity facing the program with multiple NCAA investigations into potential violations. This is a massive coup for a Chargers team that has been fighting for attention in LA since they made that move, along with the Rams, into SoFi Stadium. Suddenly, they are going to be one of the biggest stories in football moving forward. Jim Harbaugh, who has won with every team he has been with since he started coaching nearly 20 years ago, rejoins the team that he once played quarterback for. He is now the new Chargers head coach. Jamie?
Tom, thank you. Similar to Lamar proclaiming that he will bring the Ravens a Super Bowl, Jim Harbaugh wanted to do that with the national championship in Michigan. He does so. He returns to the NFL 10 years later. Peter, Harbaugh to the Chargers.
Yeah, the story that Tom's referring to with Harbaugh's now wife, it was 2006, I want to say, and they met in a P.F. Chang's. Nice. That is where they met. And so that is the story, and it's in Southern California. And they go back to Southern California where they met back in 2006, right before he took the Stanford job, which was a cool little wrap-up here. And if you go full circle on Harbaugh's career. We mentioned it yesterday. Everywhere he goes, he wins, and he wins right away. San Diego, he turned around. Stanford, he turned around. The 49ers, he turned around. And then, of course, Michigan, where he stayed for 9 years, he turned around, and now they're the national champions. A couple things on Harbaugh's team. There's an urgency. They win. Also, they're tough. They're not going to be soft. So the Chargers, whatever you think of them in your head when you close your eyes, think of the Chargers. This isn't a Southern California cool surfer vibe. This is like a tough Northeast vibe if you're into those geographic things. And then the last part about it is that he can hire coaches. You look at his staffs, whether they be at Stanford, whether they be at Michigan, and of course at the 49ers, it becomes an incredible staff overnight. Not sure if he's bringing Jesse Minter with him, who was a defensive coordinator in Michigan, but we will see the rest of the staff and a lot of those guys that have coached with Harbaugh, not only in the college ranks, but in the NFL, will be joining him at the Chargers. It's a major, major coup, if you will. I think it's a great one. And now I'm in the mood for some lettuce wraps.
I know.
Let's go. Oh, my salty as hell.
So good.
I
love that. I'm a honey chicken
Even though they're
guy
wrapped
as
in
well.
lettuce.
I love that. And Harbaugh, you talked about his impact right away. And you look at the numbers he had when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. And the main thing was they found a way to win games. But I'm fascinated by this. As you look at it, you go to that bottom column and you see second. Justin Herbert is the quarterback there. You know, a lot of when he was with the 49ers was Colin Kaepernick, a little bit of a different offense. But at the same time, under Harbaugh, you watch what he did with J.J. McCarthy with Michigan. They weren't a team that threw the ball all around the field. Now he has a talent like Justin Herbert. And I know he had Andrew Luck at Stanford. I'm interested to see how he deploys Herbert in this offense and what they're able to do. Herbert's numbers have been fantastic since he's been in the NFL. He's broken records. He's done all of those things, but he hasn't been able to win the games. And Harbaugh, I think, will bring that impact and change that organization.
I did too. Jim Harbaugh is serial. Like it is clockwork. And Peter mentioned the journey. We all know the journey. You know, he coached here, he coached here. I don't know if everybody completely understands or remembers how significant each stop was, in the sense that everywhere he went, they were terrible when he showed up. So let's just do a quick recap. He has this thing with San Diego. Then he shows up at Stanford. He gets a huge promotion. He goes up to coach. Stanford was 1-11 when they were an embarrassment. 1-11. By the time he left, Stanford was winning 12 games, embarrassing Pete Carroll's USC team. This guy got Toby Gerhardt to finish second in the Heisman by the slimmest margin in Heisman history to Mark Ingram, all right? So he's like, Stanford blows up, 12 wins. Goes to the pros, make the jump. When he shows up in San Francisco, the 49ers had been 6-10. They had fired Mike Singletary the year before. It's an Alex Smith team. They weren't going anywhere. Harbaugh takes over, same quarterback, same core. They start 9-1 in his first year. They get to the title game. No one does that. McVay didn't get to the title game in his first year. Boom, blows up, loses to his brother in the Super Bowl in the last play of the game. It's amazing. Takes his dream job, Michigan. He goes back to his alma mater. Michigan was a 5-7 terrible Brady Hoke team. Terrible. Bam, first season, 10 wins. The first two ranked opponents he played, he won 38-0 and 31-0. He's insane. He's a total madman. I will close with this. I will be very surprised if next year's Chargers do not win 11 games. Wow. If they finish 10-7, I'll be surprised. I'll think they're underachieved. He is. I really do think there's a shot that he's the best football coach in the world at any level. I expect them to win 11 games. I think this is a terrible day for the Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos. He's a psychopath. He is amazing, amazing coach. And what do we always say about the Chargers? The one thing, the word that follows them around all the time, potential. They're always so damn talented. For 30 years, they always have great players. They don't have anybody to harness it. They do now. Like, Toby Gerhardt finished second on the Heisman Trophy. You don't think Justin Herbert could light it up next year? Like, they're gonna kill it. They're gonna kill. I think 11 wins for the Chargers next year. 11.
Psychopath in the most loving way possible. It's interesting. One of the phrases that Tom Pelissero used was fighting for attention in LA. Both of you can speak to this. You having lived in LA, and Peter just knowing the football market out there from being a Fox person. The Sean McVay experience has been great from a personality perspective. But what do you think, like, the Harbaugh battle now brings from an LA football personality perspective?
Massive. Like, unapologetic aggression. Listen, I mentioned that he embarrassed Pete Carroll's USC team. Pete Carroll ran LA. He ran over UCLA, ran the whole city for football. At the end of the game, Jim Harbaugh was running up the score on Pete Carroll's USC team, so much so that Pete Carroll came out after the game and goes, "What's your deal, man?" And they had this really contentious handshake. Pete Carroll was running college football at the time. He was a god, and Harbaugh was smacking him around and running the score up. Like, he's a cold-hearted bastard in the football sense. He really is. It's exactly what you want. Eccentric person, as a football coach, cold-hearted, like an alien. He really is.
And eccentric is the word, but also can move the needle. They're tenants in that SoFi. They play there, and it's really
Good
like
point.
the Rams. Like that's Stan Kroenke's building, and they play there. And that's how it almost feels sometimes. Or the Chargers, okay, let's bring in our guys and let's, we'll raise the cannon or whatever they do on Sundays. And it's almost like we're there too. This is different. And I think this is not only a bite at the apple of the Rams. I think it's a bite at the apple of USC. I think it's a bite at the apple of the Lakers. Like this, and it's also. They're opening a brand new facility this year that's like supposed to be dazzling, and it's like a big South Bay contingent, and it's a different deal here with this Chargers thing, and I think Harbaugh fits really well.
It was the same thing. You mentioned handshake. Jim Schwartz with the Lions when they came in and gave him that big pat on the back. And when it comes to winning, I saw a stat where it's like the Chargers have been to 4 conference games in 54 seasons, and we know what Harbaugh did in just 4 of them. He went to 3 of them. So right away, he's going to change the fate of that organization.